The project today is a rear window regulator for this E90 328xi. This is a 2007 vehicle, model year. And as you can see, things are pretty ugly, or they look pretty ugly here on this rear door. The door panel is removed, the vapor barrier is removed, as you can see, and we have this jerry-rigged so that the window will not fall down. The backstory on this is my son contacted me late one night saying that the window went down but would not go back up. And, this is what we had to do to get the vehicle back on the road, so to speak, so that the window will stay in place and that we can, he could use the vehicle until I could get the parts necessary to do the repair. As so often happens, it was late at night and no way to source parts at that hour. So here's the scoop. We're going to take these all the bungee cords and all this ugliness out of the door itself. We will secure the window with suction cups above, and then we'll take the regulator, the old regulator, out, and we'll install the new one. So what I had to do on this is I had to cut the steel cables that run the length of and loop around through the regulator, because with the situation, as you can see, all these windings and stuff were all messed up, and this is pretty common. This is what happens. The window was seized. It wouldn't move. It would move a little bit, but it wouldn't go up all the way and stay in place, so that the car could be used and the window would stay up. So I've got the replacement parts here on the ground. This is the new regulator. This is an aftermarket part. These are readily available. You don't have to go with the BMW original part per se. And this is the motor unit, which I think the motor itself is fine. I've inspected it, and it's there's a little bit of wear on the nylon on that bushing there, but it seems to be okay. So I'm going to reuse that, and that motor mounts to this here, and it does so with T25 Torx. There's actually 3 of them. You can see those here. And then the regulator itself is held in with 3 bolts, which are 10 millimeters. So got my ratchet there ready for that. So we're going to jump into this, and just for reference, I have another window regulator over here that looks very similar, and that is actually for an F30 3 Series. We own multiple BMWs, and this is a window regulator for that vehicle. So I'm going to hold these together just so you can see them. They're not the same. And don't let the white plastic, that's just the what the window clips into. This happens to be on the top, and this one happens to be all the way down. That's just the way it was shipped. But take note of how different these mechanisms are left to right. So you can see that I believe the F30 is a much better setup than this older E90. I don't hear about as many of these going out, but it does happen. But the way the windings are made, and this nylon ring here is attached to the regulator frame, if you will. To me, it's just a better setup than this, which is kind of, I don't know why there's so much tension on that. I'll figure that out later, but I don't know. I think the new one is a much better design. So wanted to show that just as a point of reference, but that's not what we're doing today. We are doing an E90 rear window regulator. Back in a moment. I intended to mention that I do have the door panel here. I have the door panel itself, the vapor barrier, and then the cable that allows you to open the door. So that actuates the door latch. And taking this apart, again, this is not a how-to video. There are multiple videos on how to remove the door panel and the vapor barrier and all of that. The door panel is secured by three screws, and I forgotten. I think those might be T25 as well. I'm not sure. But two of them are hidden behind this wooden, this plasticized faux wood piece of trim. And then the third screw is behind the door handle itself. So get yourself some trim removal tools, and comes apart fairly easy. I didn't break anything. I didn't mar or break any of the clips or anything like that, but just be patient and you can get it done. Moving on to the next step. Aside from replacing the window regulator, the number one objective of this job is to not break anything. And in this case, you want to avoid breaking the door glass. That would make for a very bad day, very bad experience. So you will need to hold the glass in place in some manner using whatever you have handy. I'm using suction cups. You can use duct tape, painter's tape, just whatever. But you're going to have to hold this window glass in place while you remove the regulator. You're also going to have to lower the glass so that you can release the glass from the regulator itself, and I'll show the securing tab here in just a second. But that's a real important point. You're going to have to hold it all the way up in its raised position, and you're going to have to lower it so that you can remove it from the regulator, and then raise it up again so it's up and out of the way, so you can get the regulator out of the door, get the new regulator in, and secure the glass again and everything. It's a process, but just be patient with it. So the tab that holds the glass in place is right here. This is the original. It's green. Yours might be white depending on the source or supplier, or maybe you've already done this job before or someone did it before you. So you're going to have to depress that plastic tab. It pushes through a hole in the glass, and then you can raise the glass up again completely out of the way, secure it in place, and you can remove these 10 millimeter, three 10 millimeter nuts, and that will allow you to remove the regulator from the door. Very straightforward. Now, another something I did in the meantime is I have secured the motor to the new regulator. So as I mentioned before, I was a little concerned with the nylon. I think I called it a bushing, but it's actually a gear. The nylon gear that inserts from the old motor into the new regulator, it worked. It went in cleanly. I was a little concerned because the steel cable from the old regulator, when it got all twisted and mangled, it got into that nylon a little bit, but it didn't mar it to the point where the motor or the cog or the gear wasn't reusable. So we're all good to go there. You have 1, 2, 3 T25 Torx self-tapping screws. Suggestion: don't use a electric screwdriver or an impact wrench, or maybe you have some power tools. Just do it by hand, because this is self-tapping. It's going into plastic, and it would be very easy to overpower and strip out that plastic. That would make for another mistake. Probably something you could recover from, but I suggest just to use hand tools. So that's it for this step, and we'll move on to the next. The window regulator is out of the door. The door glass is raised fully, and the suction cups are in place, securing the glass. So everything went smooth there. Now, a word about the new regulator. And again, this is one of those, your mileage may vary things, or your experience may vary. I noticed that one of the rubber tabs, there's I don't know what you call these, grommets or resting pads or whatever, they are what the glass rests on within this plastic bracket. So the one on this side is not in the proper orientation. In fact, it's crooked. You can see that's not the way it's supposed to be. And again, that's what the glass rests on. So the proper orientation, as shown on the old regulator, is right here. So you can see the way it's in there. It's kind of, I won't say it's snapped in place, but it's held in place by a little edge or a little clip-like on the green plastic, which on the new one is white. So just be aware of that. Look out for those things because, again, the glass rests on that rubber, not on the plastic, before you put all this back together. The new regulator is in the door, and it's bolted in place. I did have a little clearance issue getting that one in, and I don't know why. I removed this foam block. It's held in place by the 2 screws that you see, and I don't know. Orientation and dimensional wise, it's the same thing. I don't know why it wouldn't go in, but just one of those things. So got the window regulator in, bolted in place, and what you have to do, depending on how the glass clip ships, or the position of the glass clip, you're going to have to plug in the door panel, or turn the key on first of all to accessory, and raise the window carrier up here high enough. You can see it. I've got it high enough now that I can clip the glass into place, and that that's something that you're going to have to do depending on the position of that carrier and how it shipped. The E90s, you can't really turn that mechanism by hand. The F30s, you can spin it very easily. It's a different setup. You can do it just with your fingers, but this I didn't have an easy way to do it, so got to power it on just briefly, raise that carrier up, and then we're going to move on to the next step here of getting the glass clipped and in place. Okay, the door glass is now attached to the regulator. It is snapped into the carrier as I'm showing here, and everything is really good to go at this point. I will mention that I had to grasp the glass on the right and over here on the left, and I had to pull down and basically guide the glass into the carrier and into the snap. There is some degree of resistance there because you've got these little, what do you call them, rubber fingers or what have you on the carrier, and that's going to fight you a little bit. But again, I just take it easy, take it slow, be careful with the glass, and it's now where it should be. So we will move on to putting the vapor barrier back in place, the door panel on, and this job is just about complete. For those that have ideas or designs on installing the regulator motor after the regulator is back in the door, it's really, it's not impossible, but it's not advantageous. So using this pick tool, I'm pointing at the top mounting bolt on the motor as it affixes to the regulator, and it's due to that sheet metal, you can't get to it. So you could, however, take the regulator out of its mounts, lower it in the door a little bit, and get to all those bolts. But I really don't see why you would do that. That doesn't seem like an advantage or a time saver or anything. So just a thought. The vapor barrier is reinstalled, and just a couple of quick notes. Make sure that the wires pass through the openings where they originally were. And also what I've done here is I've placed each of the 3 screws that hold the door panel in place. I've put those into their actual mounts. That way when you go to put the door panel on that the screw is going to find the hole. It's not going to be misaligned with a vapor barrier, because this is flexible and things can move around. So just something to think about. It's just one little extra step that may help you. You got 2 layers of things here that have to line up with those mounting holes. So that's it. On to the door panel. The door panel is reinstalled, and just quickly to show you the position of the 3 mounting screws. These are T20s, by the way. I think I said T25 earlier in the video, but these are T20s. You got one there, you got one in that recess, and you got one in that recess, and that's it. The door panel's really secure now. So this job is effectively done, with the exception of snapping on the handle trim and the wood, or the faux plastic wood trim here on the bottom, and it's completely done. I'll get the suction cups off the window. Job complete.